Hey, everybody. I'm Marlene Motivate, your channel for motivation, encouragement, and positivity. And today I have a motivator spotlight that I'm going to introduce some to you to her, but also some already a part of her wonderful community. But before then, you know what we always talk about over here on Marlene Motivates. Just know it, just breathe it, and be it and live your best life.
Be encouraged, be inspired, be yourself, you will survive. Just know it, just breathe it, and be it, and live your best life.
So, everybody, I'm Marlene Motivates. I am your life coach. Today, we have a wonderful guest, and she is someone that I want you to be inspired and empowered by the woman that she is. I know that so many of us have different things in our life, and I always want to start off by saying trigger warning because I know that it is a very sensitive topic to talk about Wade. And, I'm very I respect other people's boundaries and I don't want to trigger anybody or offend anybody. This conversation today is about empowering and to look at somebody else that has overcome, that is a wonderful, and that we can do anything that we want. And that's what I want today's topic to be about: empowerment, motivation, and positivity. I want to welcome Thrive and Glow with Joe to the show. Let me add her.
Hello, hello, hello.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you very well. So, first off, I want to welcome you to the show. Thank you so much for taking me up on the opportunity to get to know you a little bit better and to find out about. I just think you're amazing, Joe. I have to say that. I think you're amazing. And I think that I want more people to get to know you and your platform. So, first of all, let's start off by talking about your channel. I'm going to pull it up while you start talking about your channel, but tell everybody about your YouTube channel.
Okay, so this year, 2025, I updated. Hi, Lisa, and hi, Bestie. SBK is my bestie.
Oh yeah, hi.
Marlene, just to let you know, that's SBK.
Okay.
Um, so 2025, I've only started in YouTube about March of 2024, and I came in not, with any preconceived ideas of where I wanted my channel to go. This goes into something when I started, I literally started out here mentioning my bestie. I started out here just to support him. He had started at the end of 2023 or the beginning of 2024, and I just started trying to support him. And I really, honestly, before that, there's a lot of people who always use YouTube, and I was not a YouTuber.
Okay.
I literally had to employ my son to help me learn YouTube, as the teenagers know it better than us
Yeah.
nowadays. So I mean, he had to help me get in, and I literally went about trying to support my bestie on his channel. And then, so 2025, I came in with the ideas and of where I wanted my platform to go. I updated my brand to Thrive and Glow with Joe. Um, it encompasses a lighthouse, and for me, the lighthouse always spoke very, very deeply to me. The first time I saw a portrait of a lighthouse, it was a message for me, and it was giving me a message that I wanted to be a light in this world. I'm not always very keen or I'm not very sharp on exactly how I express those things all the time. And I'm always cautious, or trying to be, because I may sometimes offend some people, but I feel very passionate about where I've come from and what I've gone through and the journey that I've gone through. And that's what I wanted to share on my platform, and try to inspire the things that I set out for my own life, and try to help someone else with those things. Because everything that I set out for my channel, it's something that I put together for myself. And that's the point of it all.
Awesome, awesome. And you articulated that so well. You have an amazing channel. I did want to share that on the screen. I'm still trying to figure out this YouTube stuff and working how to do all of these things. So be patient with me as I try to add this is Joe's YouTube channel. I hope that's on the screen now. Oh, it is. Okay, it's at the top. So that is Joe's channel, Thrive and Glow with Joe. Make sure you go over there, check out the content. And if it's your cup of tea, always I recommend subscribe to her channel. Okay. So Joe, now that we know about your channel and so a little bit of the reasons why you have decided to be a content creator, can you tell us a little bit more? Because you did talk about it a little bit, but why did you become that content creator that you are today?
So I've gone through a journey in my life, and I started out using social media as something to give myself. I used it as accountability for myself. I started out on Instagram, and because I was in a weight loss journey, I would use it. I would keep myself accountable by posting on Instagram. And I remember, honestly, when I first started Instagram, I remember at the time I had a friend, and he mentioned to me, if you're going to do this, you need to have a why. You need to figure out why you're posting and who your audience needs to be, or you want your audience to be. And I remembered that. And so at that time, everything that I was doing, I was trying to hold myself accountable by posting. However, I was trying to help someone else, right? But everything that I would write, because on Instagram, you write captions, right? And the captions, they were literally speaking to me. But I found that as time went on, it was speaking to others, and it was other people were reaching out just because of what I was writing, when in reality, all along, it was my little self diary in the sorts, right? My journal. And it was to the point where my father at the time would tell me, Joe, you need to write a book, because that was kind of my journal. That's how I was using it. And so as I've evolved, and I have a bigger platform on Instagram, but as I evolved and I started now this YouTube channel and content creator, I literally believe, and I used to say, even then, I got to a point where I felt it was my ministry on Instagram. And so when I started aligning and deciding where I wanted my brand to go this year, I felt I'm going to go ahead and bring my ministry to YouTube and try to help other people. And I have people in my life that try to help me and realize, look, you want this to be your ministry. You can't be offending other people by what you say or how you say it. So I find myself trying to I got to watch what I say or how I say it, or, I can't. And so that's the reason that I mentioned that I don't want to offend people. But I want people to understand that I'm very, very passionate about where I've been and how I've gotten here. But that's the reason I wanted to be a content creator. I want to help others. I really do. But I feel that a lot of times people are triggered because of they're in different areas of their life at the time of their journey.
Right. And I can understand that. And I appreciate your honesty and transparency. We never want to offend or hurt others, but people are going through real issues in their life. They're dealing with real problems that on social media, people sometimes may not understand the real issues people are going through in their day-to-day life. It's just that some people share more than others. And but one thing we can always do is we can always be kind to one another. I always say it's free. It's free to be nice. It's free to look at what can I learn from somebody. That may not be my situation, but what can I learn, and how can I use their story, their testimony to apply it to my life and to be a better human being.
True.
Yes. So,
Right.
Joe, first, I know this is a sensitive topic, of course, a trigger warning to everybody, but I did want to start off by asking you. I'm trying to think of it the nicest, kindest, sweetest way, respectful way, but what was your starting weight, Joe, when you
My
started,
weight loss journey.
yeah, on your weight loss journey?
When I started when I started trying to lose weight, or when I got to my top weight, I believe that I was heavier than the number that was recorded at the time. You got to understand, this was in the early 2000s, and it was basically the beginning of digital weighers. And so not all, even doctors' offices, had digital weighers at the time, honestly. So prior to this time, when I had my actual first surgery, my doctor's offices only had manual weighers, so I could not even weigh myself. But my top recorded weight at the time, when I had weight loss surgery, I was 525 pounds. The day of my surgery, that's what I weighed in at. And I'm pretty sure, I know that I was heavier, because prior to surgery, I think it was 2 weeks, I had to be on a liquid diet. And so I'm sure that I dropped some weight being on a liquid diet those 2 weeks, right? But they weigh you the day of surgery, and that was the top recorded weight.
Wow. So, wow, Joe, how did you feel, going into, your journey of your weight loss? Were you excited about it? Were you fearful, or a combination?
I was very, that's something, I love that question. I don't believe anyone else has ever asked that question. I want to mention, because I just, about how I felt at that time.
Yes.
So I don't think that I've actually thought about it. Okay. So
Okay.
let me speak off the cuff. But I was very, very afraid. I had a lot of fear at that time. And I recall my parents being there. My father and my mother were there. They were the only two people there that day. And I remember this. I remember we were in the waiting area before I was going to go, to the back. And there was, in the doctor's office in the waiting area, there was a picture, and it was a doctor on a operating table in the picture. And so the doctors are around the table, on the operating table, and above the doctor is like a spiritual vision of sorts in the drawing of like of Jesus over the operating table, right? And my mother saw that, and that just gave her so much peace, right? Because of course they were very scared, but I hadn't seen the picture, because my mind was just like all over the place.
All over the place.
I hadn't noticed any pictures on the wall or anything. I was just like, but my mom pointed it out to me, and she's like, "Look, Joe," and I was like that made me feel so much calmer, I guess, right?
Mm-hmm.
But so that's why that brings that to memory, because going in, I had no idea what to expect, or where I was going, or where I was, where my journey would take me. I just knew that at that moment in my life, I was at a point where I knew I needed some help. I was at a place where I decided that I needed to help myself to start working on the reasons that I was there. And that is the main thing for me. It wasn't about a weight loss journey, it was about a healing journey from within. But I needed help to start that, in a sense, because I wasn't going to cross over to the healing part until I loved myself enough to actually. So
Yes, and I'm so happy. I'm so proud of you, and I know that there is somebody who's going to watch this eventually, and they will feel like you felt back then, and it may give somebody an encouragement to say, I'm not the only one, because when we go through situations in our life, we kind of only see what's in front of us and how we feel and what we're going through, and it helps to know somebody else feels like I feel. I'm not alone. So just you speaking up and saying that, it's so courageous, Joe. It's so courageous. And I'm proud of you for sharing your testimony with us today. Thank you so much. So go on to the next question that I have for you. Okay, we talked about that. So after you go through this, Joe, and the surgery is over and they take the weight, I know that a healing, we talked about you, it's a healing journey. What are some of the things? How did you feel like, okay, after now the surgery is over? Now how did you feel? Now did you feel like I'm all excited and or were you just thinking of the pain? Because I'm just trying to get in your head and think like, what, like, did you feel like excited? Like the hardest, do you think like the hardest part is over? I just want to hear your thoughts on that.
well, the healing part of the actual surgery was really difficult, and then trying to because the surgery that I had was a very, very invasive or surgery where they actually rerouted organs, and my stomach was now at two ounces. So I had a Roux-en-Y procedure. And so that's a gastric bypass. And the bypass is meaning they rerouted my intestine. They cut my stomach down to the size of an egg, and they rerouted my intestine to that small pouch, so to speak. And so you have to learn to eat again, because you're only eating about 2 ounces at a time. So you have to go through nutrition, a nutritionist to help you relearn how to eat, and learn about the way you have to eat now. But one of the good things is, though, what they're doing is also taking away the things that give you an appetite, right? So it's in that particular procedure, you don't have an appetite to eat. So you have to make sure that you're eating and doing the things that they show you need to do now. I was told then, for the rest of your life, you're going to have to take supplements to make sure you're getting your protein, make sure you're getting your vitamins, make sure you're getting your multivitamins and your B complex vitamins and things like that. So you are told those things. Those are the training tools that you start going through to relearn. It's completely a different lifestyle, that you're learning. So that's something that that I've learned throughout my years. In order for any kind of success, you have to relearn everything. And that's what it was. But for me, mostly, I had to also relearn that the use of food for my life. and to reprogram my mind that now food was not comfort, so to speak, because that's how I used to use food. So I can't use food for comfort anymore. I need to use it for fuel, and I need to be smart about why I'm eating now, and not just to eat just because I'm bored, or just because I'm sad, or just because, for emotional reasons, right? But it was a long process to heal, right? It's something very different that you're going through. But it was just a time in my life where, at the time, the reason that I decided that I wanted to do it is because I wanted to be able to have a child. I wanted to be able to give birth, and I had had a failure previously, so I knew at that time I had a realization that if I don't drop this weight, I'm not going to be healthy enough to be able to carry to 9 months, to full term. And I wanted to be healthy enough to do that. So at the very onset, I lost 200 pounds within a year and a half, and dropped the weight so fast, though, right? So when you lose weight like that so fast, there's a lot of ups and downs in your body, for that. But I was given the okay to go ahead and try to have a baby, which is what I wanted all of a sudden. I mean, the whole time, that's what I wanted to do. But of course, remember, I'm still 200 pounds. I'm still 325 pounds.
Right.
But I'm being told, I'm being told I can go ahead and try to have a child because I'm already up in age. At the time, I was 36 years old, and I was married, and we wanted to have a child. So I was given the okay because I was healthy. The morbid obesity, illnesses of I didn't have any of those even going in. I wasn't someone who had the high blood pressure, or had the high cholesterol, had the diabetes. I didn't have any of those things, but I did. I had sleep apnea, and so that was better. I slept well. I was healthy, and so I was given the okay to try to have a child, and I had a healthy baby boy, full term. So it was great.
That's beautiful. That's so beautiful. I'm glad to hear that knowing your why, and that's a beautiful thing, that you have to have something that you're looking at as something to keep you going towards a goal. And I'm so grateful to hear that you got on your journey, your wellness journey, and you had your son. But after, that, I know you were saying that you had to relearn so many things. And I'm sure that it was learning to see the new body image, right, of yourself now. Looking at yourself now in the mirror and loving yourself, and not saying that you didn't love yourself previously, but, learning to learn the new and improved you. How did that feel?
I'm going to mention something. It's still an ongoing. It's very much an ongoing thing for women. I think I can speak for other women that have gone through that journey. There's a saying that we've always said. I've heard other people say also, but the tool that I used, the weight loss surgery that I used, is just a tool. It's just a tool to help me, but it's only a tool that will jumpstart you. It's not something that's going to help you forever. That's why I mentioned that you have to learn a new lifestyle of sorts in order to have it to maintain that weight loss, right? And especially having gone through a pregnancy after I've had that surgery. And if you think about it, that pregnancy, I didn't have another pregnancy, so I can't compare it to another pregnancy. But I know that it was very, very tough, if you think about it, to eat in 2-ounce amounts, and I have to eat every 2 to 3 hours, and you can't. And so let me mention, so the new way to eat when you've had that surgery is you eat every 2 to 3 hours. You eat in 2-ounce increments, but also between the 2 to 3 hours, you have to drink your water, because you can't eat and drink at the same time, because that 2-ounce pouch will get full, or you have protein, which is your fuel, right? You
Right.
put your fuel in. If you put in water above it, it's just going to wash it through, and it's not going to nourish your body.
Right.
And I'm trying to put it in layman's terms.
Yeah.
So it's not going to nourish your body, which is what you need your food to do for your body. So you can't eat or drink right after you eat. You have to wait, allow that food to start working in your body, and then drink your water, but you have to get your water in too. And then you eat again. And so pregnancy, when you're trying to eat for another child that you're carrying, it was very, very difficult. I felt like I was constantly trying to eat, constantly trying to drink. It was very, very mentally and physically rough, right? But after I had the child, I've ballooned up back to about 400 pounds. So if I didn't learn those things that I needed to do, and the discipline and the consistency that I needed to have to start jump starting again and losing the weight again, then I wouldn't have been able to get back on. And it would have just, not been something that would have helped me in the long run. Right. But that's why I mentioned, just learning a new life completely, and I mean, in order to maintain it, right. In order to maintain, anything, that's what I had to do. I hope that answered the
Right.
question.
Yeah,
Sorry.
it does. It answers a lot, because you have to develop the proper strategies. You have to develop a routine. You have to be consistent. And if you didn't have those things before your pregnancy, afterwards, when there was some weight gain, you would have went right back to where you started. So um, I just want you to know that I know that all of those things that you went through to get to where you are today, we celebrate you for that. You deserve some applause for that, because I know that there were many times that you feel like, oh, can I do this? Can I? Because I know I've gone through that when the what is it called? When your weight goes up and down, it's like you lose, and then you're feeling good, and then you go back to bad habits, and then you gain. So it's, yo-yo dieting. I went through that for a really long period of time, and that was a big struggle for me with the yo-yo diets. You lose and then you gain, but it's honestly about consistency and keeping on your focus, and you have to know what you need in your physical body. Can you share some of those things that you used to eat? Like, what is a portion? Because I don't know anything about you saying you had to eat in 2-ounce increments. Can you share like what would be a typical meal that you would eat?
Sure. So there's I want to mention, so there's things that we would use to give ourselves an easy way to think about how much to eat, and instead of having to measure all the time. I mean, yes, you start out by measuring on a scale and measuring those ounces of, and the main thing about it is learning to eat a full balanced diet. Okay. And I'm not trying to step on any toes about any kind of diets out there at all. I mean, everybody's going to do and try whatever they need to, but I'm just talking about me. I had to go through basically eating no processed food. And I made it very basic for myself to be able to learn and sustain my weight loss and everything that I did for me. But I broke it down to I have to eat a well-balanced diet, no processed food, no fried foods, no sugars, no, because that would really affect my, new stomach, right? So no sugars, no, just very, very, I did have natural sugars, right? So fruits and vegetables and things like that. Um, but like a portion of a protein was the size of the palm of my hand, right? And so you look at the palm of your hand, and so that's the size of that protein that you can have, right? And so, but basically, the food that I had would circumference the size of my hand. So if the food that I have would fit on my hand, and that's it. But what the little things that they would show us to help us visually, because we're very visual people, very it works here, right? It doesn't. I don't think I ever mentioned the word, but I mean the statement that I was going to say is one of the things that we always told or said going through weight loss a journey is that they fix our stomach. Going through that surgery, they fix your stomach, but they don't fix your brain. So your brain still sees yourself even to this day. And there's a thing that they call it, but you still see yourself I still see myself as Big Joe. That's what I call myself. Called her, right? I called her Big Joe. And there's many days that I still see her. I still see her, but when I was her, I saw myself as I am today. So it's very, very, they don't, and it's very, just because they rewired my stomach, they didn't rewire my brain. And it's very, very, something that is very, very strong in women, that we don't necessarily, and it's not about not loving ourselves. The fact that I'm trying to better myself is because I do love myself, right? But the fact that I still see myself big, or don't feel that that I look a certain way, is just a mental thing, that I still see myself as I was then. For instance, my daughter-in-law will tell me all the time. The other day, she asked me, "Okay, Mom, what size of shirt do I get you for my grandbaby's soccer team?" Right. And I said, "Well, I don't know." And she's like, "A medium?" And I said, "Oh, no. What if I get big again? Just get me an extra large." And that's me. Like, I'll go buy an extra large t-shirt any day. And she's like, "No." And she refused to get me.
Yeah, you're medium.
She's like, "No, you're not. Yeah, I'm tired of you wearing these big old shirts." And one day she showed up and she came and brought me some clothes, and she had bought me and fitted. But because I don't always wear fitted clothes, and to this day, and it's been a long time, I've actually maintained my weight for the last 2 years, and I've been maintaining give and take 10 pounds, right? Mm-hmm. Teeter-totter amongst 10 pounds, literally. But I have literally maintained my weight for the last 2 years, but I'm still self-cautious. I really am.
Yeah.
They don't rewire your brain. They don't, and that's one of the things that I wanted to mention. But so that's why visually, that's how we would teach ourselves to eat and the portion of your hand. And I've always trying to train my son also, don't try to not eat this or that. It's the portion control. Yes. It's how much you're having of each thing. Like a lot of times, he wants to just have garlic bread and that's it. Garlic bread with cheese on top. And I'm like, hello, that's not good decisions, right, to make. But it's about portion control, and it's about eating all good whole foods, right? It's not about a certain, even today, it's about eating just all whole foods is the point, is what I'm trying to.
It's about learning to get into complex carbs and not the simple carbs, and and to eat healthier. I see we have T Mo TV. How are you doing?
Hi, Timo.
Welcome.
It's good to see you.
Welcome. Thank you so much for coming over. So Joe, you were talking about how that they will fix your body, but they don't fix your mind. What are some of the things that you think is one of the hardest after the weight loss surgery and maintaining, but keeping your mind in a state that I deserve it. Those things that we should be saying to ourselves. What is that something that is the hardest struggle for you um moving forward to keep yourself motivated? It's the
That
hardest
is
thing
that is
mentally.
the reason. Yes, that's the reason that I said or I mentioned that I started that's accountability for myself because of that. Because of it comes a time when you have to learn to keep yourself motivated in a sense, right? And you're because I'm out there. The other reason that I was on Instagram or that I started using Instagram was because I was trying to learn how to work out because it's one of the things they give certain percentages, but a lot of they say it's about 80% nutrition, losing weight in a weight loss journey,
Right.
about 80, and I might have the numbers wrong, but it's about 80% nutrition and only 20% of working out and movement, right?
Hmm.
So it's mostly relearning how to eat and eat right and eat the right things that will fuel you correctly and better now that you're in a weight loss journey. But that 20% you do need to work out and learn how to move your body and learn how to get into a movement of sorts that will help you keep your metabolism going and everything. But relearning how to eat again, learning, I wasn't an athlete previously. So, me personally, I had to learn how to work out and what to do and how to do it
Hmm.
and where to go. And then, as a big girl, then I was very, very intimidated to go into places and ask for help.
Right.
Uh, I did, seek out a personal trainer at the time to help me, but I was very, very insecure about it, right? Because I'm going into a gym where I'm a big girl and everybody else doesn't look like I look at the time, so it was very, very, very tough to stay motivated, especially if you are in a relationship or have relations with people around you that are not um, inspiring you or motivating you.
Right.
You have to learn how to motivate yourself. And that's why I used Instagram and I set out, you know what, I want to live a positive, healthy lifestyle. That is something that you'll see on my channel. That is something that I set out for myself. I literally, like I said, everything that I did or that I tried to share on my channel are things that I, not knowing, but those are things that I did for myself that I literally set up for myself to live by. And because I needed that motivation, I'm very, very, I'm a, I'm a God first, God fearing woman.
Hmm.
Um, and my faith was my biggest foundation and that I stood on. Um, and so I had to stand on that to help myself every day. And just because I was also going through so much personal and in on a personal level when I mentioned about relationships and things. So you have to get to a place where you have to try to motivate yourself, because I know we've said a lot of times we can't rely on everyone else to motivate us, but even seeking out channels like yours where you're trying to motivate other people, those little things that you seek out and you try to find in someone else if you can't do it for yourself, those, just keeping, I mentioned the other day, keeping motivational messages on the wall for myself, or just those little things that help you. Keeping little notepads on your, on your
On your
computer
mirror.
screen, to try just to see it every day, and to help you get back up every day, get back up to do it again every day, because it's not easy. You wake up not, and then there's everything, especially today, everything going on around us to break us down, but so that is the main thing that, I used and seeked out motivation so I could continue going, right? Because I was trying to learn so much, and that's what helped me.
No, one of the things that I have to highlight, I love that you said that you're a woman of faith, because a lot of times people will think that that's not a part of the equation, but I think, Joe, it's a major part of the equation in motivation. It's a main part of my reason why I got through certain situations in my life when things aren't working in the right here, right now, in your present. You have to lean on a stronger, more powerful source. And yes, like you said, reading books and affirmations and positive things, yes, that's important, but there's nothing like the power of your higher power, giving you, like, when you have nothing, because I've had those times where I'm empty inside. And I was like, I can't do this today. Okay. I was like, I can't do this. So I'm going to need you to do it. So I'm
Mhm.
sure that you have had many days, many moments like that where you depended on your faith to sustain you.
Very much so. I wouldn't be able to make it otherwise at all. And
Yeah.
I put God first in everything. So that that's very much my drive. That's very much my why. I believe He spoke the lighthouse into my life, and told me that I mean, literally, that's what I believe. That He was speaking to me and telling me I needed to be a lighthouse. Um, he just, I'm not always great in how I convey that, but I'm trying every day to be better than I was yesterday. And see that, I think a lot of times people try to get ahead of themselves, and try to get, you know 20 feet down the road. But if we just take it day by day and step by step, um, because sometimes you can't even go any further than that. You have to just deal with right here, right now. And I may have messed up yesterday, but man, let me pick it back up and let me keep trying to go and try it again. I'm not going to allow what happened yesterday just keep me down and not keep going forward. And I think that that's the main message that I would want people to get. It's that it doesn't matter what you did yesterday. It doesn't matter. You don't just try to be better today. And I'm talking about anything in life, right? Anything in life, whatever we did, we can't let it get to us, or what's happened in the past. We can't let it keep us down. We got to figure out why we need to keep going forward, and go towards that.
Yes. And I love that you use the lighthouse. I think that's a beautiful representation. Something always to reach to, shining the light, shining a path away. For me, it's like saying that's hope. That's hope right there. That's encouragement. That's enlightenment. That's faith. When we're going through situations in our life, we feel like it's hopeless. This situation will never change. And when we have things that we can depend on uh, to strengthen us. So I know that you've mentioned before that you had your mother and you've had your father. Was there other people that you found in your journey in learning to? Oh, hi, Sirius. How are you? Welcome. Thank you for
Hi,
coming.
Sirius.
Was there a new people that you had to bring into your circle after your journey, your new life? Was there new people you had to bring in? Because when we shift sometimes from the person that we were to the person we are now, we have to sometimes cut some people off or leave some people behind so that we can be our best. Was that the case for you?
Yes. It's been 10 years. I've been divorced. I mentioned at the time when I had my weight loss surgery originally, it was in 2005. And I had just gotten married in 2004. So, but remember, he married me when I was 500 plus pounds. So I mentioned my top recorded weight was 525, but I was probably way beyond that. The pictures, I even remember this. After I started losing the weight, I remember saying to him that I wanted to take new wedding pictures because the wedding pictures we had at the time, I mean, I looked night and day and I could share, but because I'm in a wedding dress, I didn't want to share. I've never shared those to people. But I didn't look like me at all. I'm wearing my hair up, you know, I'm wearing my hair up and she's this round figure. I mean, I just look completely different, right? And, even at the time, I wasn't even this, what I weigh today. However, I looked very different already, right?
Mhm.
And I remember having a conversation. This is how much I did not have assistance or motivation from that relationship.
Right.
I remember saying to him that I wanted to take new pictures, and he said, "Oh no," because he really did. That's where he wanted me, and I do. I've had this discussion with other people along the way, and it was his insecurity, in essence, because when you have someone, and this is what I believe, when you have someone that does not want to uplift and inspire someone to better their health, which means you're inspiring their longevity, their lengthen their lifespan.
Mhm.
We don't know what will happen from one day to the next, granted. But if I can help you live an extra day, why wouldn't you want that? And especially the person that is supposed to love you and be your partner in life or your teammate in life to to
Right.
team up with you and do life together. Why would you not want to do that with that person? Is what I'm saying. But I ended up realizing that that person had insecurity of themselves to where they wanted to keep a person under their feet, so to speak, so I can feel better about me because the person next to me is less than me
Yeah.
because of what they look like, because they knew I was not less than them in a sense, right?
Mhm.
But if I keep them to a place where I have to help them with everything, um, I was at a place where, and I'm going to share, I was at a place where I needed help bathing. I needed help using the restroom. I needed help being clean. I mean, I was at a place where I couldn't do those things for myself because I was 500 plus pounds, literally. And I know a lot of people cannot relate to that, right? But I was at that place where sometimes I couldn't move and I couldn't do and I sat most of the time. There's a picture I've shared where I'm very, very, I was sitting all the time. And can you get this for me? Can you get that for me? Because I wasn't very mobile, because it was hard to move. It was hard to get around because my legs were so huge. I was so heavy. The person in my life has to do all these things for me. And they're willing to do these things for me, and they're not willing to help me and pull me out of the trenches to help myself and get healthier.
Yeah.
So when I asked if we could take new wedding pictures, he refused. He did not want to take me wedding pictures. And the more that I lost weight, and this is God's honest truth, and I'm so sorry that people will hear this and feel like, I did anything wrong, but I don't regret anything that I went through. To this day, I can say I'm not bitter, and that's
Right.
a proven fact. I have good relations with that person, and because I have to. He's my son's father, so
Right.
I don't have any bitterness. I would say everything I'm saying to his face because he knows it's a fact. I'm not lying. But it got to a point where the more weight that I lost, the more I was cheated on with
Mm.
women that were heavier than I.
Oh, I
And
see.
because he that's what he likes. I mean, that's what he desires. That's what he is turned on by, I guess. He likes big women. That's what he married. And the more I lost weight, the more I lost my marriage, because the more he was in he cheated, right? I mean, he was unfaithful.
Right.
So I took so much of it, trying not to break up the family. I had had a, I had gone through that in my childhood. My mother that I speak of was my stepmother, which I've never called or referred to, but she was my stepmother, and my father, so we were a blended family that I grew up with. And I didn't want my child to go through that. I didn't want my child to feel any of the things that I had gone through or had to, go through. And I went through 9 years of infidelity. I went through 9 years of that, trying to keep my family together, trying to, hey, now, he's asked for forgiveness, and it's going to change, and we're going to change this, and we're going, but it was never something that he he didn't want me to get better. He didn't want me to get healthier, in essence. Um, that I couldn't go backwards. I had to keep going forward, and I had to try to teach my son that, trying to teach him how to eat better, how to eat healthier. So it's been 10 years now that I've been divorced, and it was something where I had to relearn to do motherhood now by myself and on my own.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I did decide when I did motherhood alone. I didn't. I chose to. We have joint custody, so I didn't want the assistance in any way.
Mm-hmm.
And I've done that though. I've done that 10 years. My son is 16 years old now. Will be 17 in March. Um, and I try to teach him all the things that I try to teach anyone else. Trying to teach him to eat well. Trying to, it's not about a diet. It's a lifestyle change, and it's keeping yourself positive, healthy, and just those things. Those things that I try to. I was teaching myself. I try to teach him, and I had to do that so I could not let anyone around us not want that same for us, right? For me. Whether they didn't say it, right? They didn't say they didn't want that for me, but that was in action. So
Yeah.
yes, I had to
Yeah.
change my whole my
Yes.
whole life, and everything. But I'm a proud single mother, and I've done that, and I wouldn't change anything, and I don't regret anything. I tell my son every day, and he gets upset sometimes, but I told him I would walk through fire all over again just for you. And he's like, I wouldn't want you to do that, Mom, but it's okay. It's okay. You're my why to this day. I say, I'm in my 50s, and I'm an older mother for a 16-year-old child, right? But I decided that, I know God put him in my life for a reason, because it's my why. It gives me the reason to keep going. And that's why.
Yes, and I love that. And what you were sharing, I mean, I resonated on that so much. There's so many. It's not just women; it's men too, who we stay in these toxic relationships. feeling, because we don't want to rock the boat. We don't want to, offend anybody, but it gets to be where you always have to walk on eggshells in the relationship. You never can be your best self. You can never do the things that you want to do, because you have to always constantly try to make them happy, but you never get to focus on your personal happiness. And I know that that can uh, there's a lot of people, either they're in it or they've walked through that and they understand that completely. Staying with somebody because you don't want other people to know that you're unhappy, or you don't want to not make the person you're with unhappy. It's that you don't want to make it about yourself, but it's about your kid. It's about, you know, but it is what it is. There's a lot of people out here and they're very unhappy, right, Joe? They're very unhappy with themselves. And if we're not careful, we can allow unhappy people to make us unhappy.
Yes, and we can't allow that. And that's the main thing. You have to get to a point where loving yourself enough, even though it's scary. It was very scary even then. I remember telling my dad, Dad, what am I going to do now? I've always lived at least 6 hours away from my family. Since I was married, I had moved to this area, and that's how at least 6 or 7 hours away from my actual family. And I relocated, and that's where I met my husband, and that's where I was. And so when I was divorced, I remember telling my dad, if I have a flat tire, what am I going to do? It's those fears of relearning to be alone and not have, in essence, that rock or that person that I can call on, because I was not going to call him. I mean, even though, yes, I had his son, but I was not going to call.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I just was not. But everything happens for a reason. And if we just trust that, if we just trust that everything happens and we are being guided, and we place our faith first, everything will work out in better ways than, I mean, I have testimony after testimony of how much my life has turned around for the better 10 times over in the time that I've been divorced. It's wild. But I know that it's because of the things that I set out in my life to go forward, right? And I know a lot of people, it's very taboo sometimes. I'm not inspiring divorce. I don't want that.
No. We're not saying that either, Joe. No, we understand.
It's not that at all. It's just when you get to a point where it's not working out and it's not right for you, you have to continue going forward and continue just loving yourself more. Because I was not going to, some people say, so some people will tell me that, his new wife and her getting, weight loss surgery, are you going to let her know that if she loses weight, she's going to lose her husband? And I'm like, no, I'm not. That's not it. Everybody has to. I was not going to gain weight for my marriage. That's what I wanted to get at. There was no reason for me to try to save my marriage by keeping myself unhealthy. I had to keep trying to get healthy. And that way I could teach those who now I'm leading, right? And I really believe that. I am a firm believer too. We just have to get to a place where we love each other or love ourselves more than the things around us, trying to keep us down, right?
Yes. Yeah. I think, Joe, it's really, honestly, at the end of the day, I think we go through situations in our life, our childhood, but everybody goes through something or a few situations or traumatic things that really shakes us up. And then we have to make a decision if we're going to let those situations control us, or if we're going to use those things as a springboard or a catalyst for our personal growth. And I'm so glad that you did that. I wanted to welcome in a few people
Yes.
came in. Realist one here. How are you doing? Welcome, Realist.
Hello.
Also, Sirius and Nancy Perrin Ministries. I think that
The
was.
Garden of
Oh,
Inspiration.
Blaze. Blaze came in too. Hi, Blaze. How are you doing? Welcome in. So I did want to welcome in everybody and say thank you guys so much for being here for this amazing motivational conversation, this motivational spotlight on Thrive and Glow with Joe. So I did want to say, Joe, I wanted to highlight a point that was put here in
Mhm.
Siri says, Joe, I'm so proud of your weight loss progress. You've inspired so many people. I know it's been a long and a hard road. You look great.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you so
And
much.
she also said, you shouldn't regret anything. I'm sorry you had to endure that. It's not your fault. Don't ever blame yourself. That's a manipulation tactic. He used your vulnerability to get to you. Mhm.
That's
Try.
one thing though that I had not shared much of the things that, being, and it's hard for other people to understand, I'm sure. But being that weight and being over 500 pounds, and I'm telling you, I know for a fact that I was over 525, which was that top recorded weight. But just being there and being the way that I carried the weight. I carried the weight on the bottom half of my body, right? So that meant my legs were very, very swollen, my thighs very swollen, my all, very swollen all over. I mean, if you used on your thumbnail that middle picture where, um, just my face was just so, my neck, all this here,
Mhm.
um, but what's ironic is I remember being in the hospital and one of the nurses told me, I've never had any kind of uh, skin lift or anything in my neck or face, right?
Mhm.
But having lost so much weight, my skin actually, retracted pretty well, even though I'm old and I've got that little turkey thing that, you know, but that's just the
Don't.
norm.
You look great.
No, but honestly, like I didn't, I didn't, it
You
really
didn't get
retracted,
anything, no nips and tucks.
right. But I really retracted a lot, really well. But I was just being that heavy is something that most people don't realize. You need assistance. And those are the things that he did at that time for me. And it's just so mind-boggling to me that if you have someone in your life that you have to help uh, take showers, you have to help use the restroom, you have to help clean, keep clean. And at a point where I was in my 30s. So no, once you get of age, right? I mean, yes, you grow old and you have to,
Right.
you're both older, right? So you're going to help each other in that way. But you're in your 30s and your wife is over 500 pounds and you have to help her do all these things. Why would you not want to motivate and help her, hey, let's go work out together, let's learn this together? And that wasn't something that I had in my life. But I don't, like I mentioned, I don't regret any of it.
Mhm.
I believe, I truly honestly believe that we go through everything we go through because that makes us stronger in the end, right? Or once we make it through those things. Yes, it's hard to go through anything we go through, but everything tough that I've been through, I think has made me stronger. And I
Yes.
don't regret any of it. I can't. I have a beautiful family to this day. Um, I raised my son. My ex-husband already had sons at the time, and I raised one of my sons, and that's who is married today. And that's my daughter-in-law, him and his wife, and that's my grandkids that I love, and I always, they make they're my joy, and including my son that I'm raising, and it's nothing that I regret. I really don't.
Yes.
I don't. No, I wasn't always at this point though, right? I have grown. I have gone through that bitterness. I've gone through that, anger, but I'm so much better today,
Mhm.
that I don't hold any of it. And I've gone through things where, oh, I realize I don't have any, I mean, yes, and that's why I want to be real. I want to be real because I know other people go through it. When I first got divorced, he immediately went into a relationship with someone else, and I'm at home alone, and my son's going to his dad's, and they're a new family over there and having family night with his new, you know, and I felt very bitter at the time, and I'm the one over here alone, and I had these things that I went through,
Right.
but I've grown, and I've released all of that because I'm so much better today
Yes.
in all aspects of life. And I promise you, I want anyone that hears this, you don't need to hold on to that chain, because that's what that chain is. I mean, that's what it is. It's a chain holding you down, feeding that bitterness and that anger and that what you feel that they did to you. It'll just keep you down if you don't release it
Right.
and let it go, because you needed to go through that to be able to grow.
Hmm.
And
Yes.
until we let go of it, we can't grow. So I
Yeah.
hope that makes sense.
Yeah, I love that. I love that you said that, Joe, because oftentimes when we go through some situation, some struggle, or we find out what is the reason why we feel how we feel, what was the reason why we were, that feeding that poison that tried to dominate us and to bring us down. But when you overcome things, and I love that you said that you're not bitter, you're not angry, and it's very easy for us to be bitter, for us to be angry, and it's justified. Some of the situations that you went through, you were justified in being angry and being bitter. But when you mature and you elevate, you not only you feel better, but you also show how strong your faith is. You also show how important you are. You show how courageous you are, and you've done all of those things. And I just also want to say this comment here from the Garden of Inspiration. Hi, Garden of Inspiration.
Hello,
Um,
hello.
and she says, although it was hard to go through all of that, what you have been through, all of it became your motivation.
Very much
Yes,
so. Yes.
yes, and absolutely, your growth is evident because I am sure I didn't know you back then, Joe, but I'm sure that now you are, walking around and you're smiling, you're at peace. But I'm sure that the person you were back then wasn't smiling and happy and at peace like you are today.
I guess not. I don't know. I was going through so many things, and you're right, because I would always speak on the things that I was going through, right? You have a tendency to speak on those memories and those things that you go through, and then you go through more and more and more, and that's why I mentioned, if you don't let go of those things, and in essence, I did forgive because I forgave for me, right? I forgave so I could heal and move on from it. And also because I didn't want to, because my son is the person that's here with me, right? So if I continue to speak on those things, all those ugly things, it just feeds into him, and he has to hear it. Although he's very much aware, right? I keep him aware of the things that have happened, because I want him to also know what's right and what's wrong, right? I'm not a man, and I feel that I can't teach my son to be a man. I'm growing. I'm raising a young man, and I feel that I can't teach him to be a man, but I can teach him right from wrong, right? I keep him around people that can be mentors to him, people in the church to keep mentoring him and help him grow, and people in his life that he looks up to. My bestie is one of the closest men in his life, that he looks towards and he looks up to, and so I keep those things around him to teach him to be a man, but I have to teach him right from wrong, and teach him that, yes, that's your father and you love your father, but you need to understand, right, what has your father gone through that has kept him down, versus what you need to learn, right, from, because we can learn from the good and the bad of people, right? We learn from everyone, whether it's good and or bad, because you learn what not to do or what to do. So but I never want him to say or to feel anymore. Yes, he's seen the bitter side of his mom, right? But he's also seen the growth in his mom, very much so, because it got to a place where, and I'm going to share this, and this is actually in this last year, I got to a place where, ever since I've raised my son, we raised him in the same church since we had him. And when we divorced, his father stopped going to the church. And it got to a place where this past year only, they were asking one day, we're very, very active in church, my son and I. And so they had asked, where's where is he this weekend? And I said, oh, he's at his dad's. And so I know God spoke to me and says, why can he not be coming to church just because he's at his father's, when his father lives closer to the church than I do? Right. And so I thought of, well, let me go ahead and invite them to come, right? And let them know that there's an open invitation. There's no reason for you not to come, right? And I did, and they started coming, and that's what showed me. When they came to church and we sat in the same pew, we sat in the same aisle and everything, and we can do that. That's what showed me. That's how I can prove I have no bitterness.
That's personal growth right there.
No anger. That's what showed me that I had no anger, no bitterness, no. It felt so good. But that's what I had to go through, though, to know that, right? I couldn't have stated that before. That, oh, I'm healed. But you can't know that until you go through something where you know that you really are. And that's what showed me recently. And my son, and I know it makes my son feel good too, right? It really does. And that's what I want to show him. I want to show him that we don't have to stay bitter in this world, because there's a lot that'll put you there.
Yeah.
So
and I'm glad that you shared that, Joe, because a lot of times we see when, husbands and wives, boyfriends or girlfriends, like there's a breakup and you're no longer together, that you can still co-parent maturely. I think that needs to be seen more in this world. Okay, we didn't work out, but it doesn't mean that we have to come for each other. It doesn't mean we have to put down each other. We can still be supportive because we want to be a good role model for our child, because forever it's going to be our child. And I think so many people need to learn that it's not just about you, or it's not about them. It's about coming together and supporting for your child.
For him, right. And
Mhm.
I am, and it's something just like the reaction you made when I mentioned that. Those are reactions, I mentioned that we raised my son in church, in the same church. So that means a lot of people there knew him when he came. They didn't know her, but they got to know that, hey, this is his wife. He's got a new wife, and this is her. And but there were people that that mentioned, especially the greeters. This is an actual event or something that happened. So one of the greeters is newer, so she didn't know me then, but she knows me now. And she came and spoke to me the next time that I saw her, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, you are so strong." And I'm like, "Why? Like, what's going on?" Right? I didn't know what had happened. Well, she told me that first day that they were there, she was trying to run to go give them a greeter card, and another person that has been there since before I was there started going. She told her, "Oh, no, they're already in the system. That's Joe's ex-husband." And she said, "I about fell out and wanted to pass out." And so, "Who's that lady?" And they said, "That's his new wife," right? And so it was just something, I just laughed and laughed. And she's like, "You're better than me." "Oh no." And she starts giving me her story of her ex and everything. And it was just so hilarious. But honestly, and I'm like, and y'all here at church and y'all still, I mean, she's been divorced 24 years. So I'm like, girl, you need to let that go. Like, come on. But I mean, honestly, I feel that God's used me in different ways to help others, because I had more of those people coming up to me there at the church telling me, you're better than me because of that. And I'm like, I'm no better than anyone else, but if that helped you, I'm glad, because it really showed me how much I've grown. It really did. It was something for me, but I know how it was helping others, because I had so many of those people come and tell me that they were like, "I can't believe," and I'm like, it was crazy. But
Yeah. As Nancy says, it's a powerful testimony, and it takes a lot of strength. I just have two more questions for you, Joe, and then we're going to wrap up, unless there's some questions from the audience. But I wanted to ask you, what has been your through everything that you've been through, going and saying you wanted to get weight loss surgery, to having the weight loss surgery, having your son, and then gaining, and then where you are today. What has been throughout all of it? What has been the hardest thing for you with your journey with your weight? Has been the hardest thing for you to be able to maintain?
The hardest thing that I've been able to maintain through everything is the growth, the continuing growth mentally. It's not easy, and I've kind of tried to share how, just being transparent and trying to share that what you see today wasn't always reality, right? And it takes a long walk to get there. But I think sharing my testimony more and more helps me see that everything there was a reason for it all, because it was so hard for me to mentally not be there. Right. And just like you spoke, what was your motivation, or what did you use to motivate yourself? And that is mostly sharing it sharing this here helps
Mhm.
because it's so easy to allow that negativity to go into your, as much as I want to. That's why I think I set out my life to have a positive, healthy lifestyle. You're not going to do that unless you need to keep that in your life, right? You set out a goal because you need it, right? If
Mhm.
you didn't need it, then you wouldn't shoot towards it every day. But I needed it, and you may see something in me that I don't see in myself. So it helps me, that feeds to me, because it's so much easier for people to feed negativity to you or to tell you about your faults. It's so much easier for people to tell you your faults, but it's not every day that you hear the good that you're actually doing. And that is something that I have to try, because I don't tell that to myself, right? I mean, I keep myself accountable by what I do, and
Mhm.
I have to keep myself, because I'm single, and I keep my, so you have to even be stronger on your own 2 feet.
Mhm.
But I have to believe in myself, and that's not easy. As much as we try to help other people do that, it's not easy every day to do.
Mhm.
And that's been the hardest thing. But I think sharing my testimony is what I need to do, and that's why I'm here.
Yes, and I'm so grateful that you have and that you are. I always want to bring motivation. I always want to bring positivity, and I get it. I understand. I know that life happens. We all have personal issues and problems, but it's about surrounding ourselves with positive, motivated, encouraging people. Not that we're perfect, because
Right.
nobody is perfect, but it's like there are times where I go over to your channel and I get some motivation. Okay, let me put on my sneakers. Okay, all right. I was like, I wanted to lay on the bed and eat a donut, but gosh, right, Joe has to be there with in the gym. So, and we, I think everybody goes through things like that, and you need something to be like, come on, you can do it. Keep on going. We all need that, and I did want to highlight something that Realist said, because Realist said his mom was a single mother. So, props to all of the single mothers, the single fathers, um, holding it down. I know that it's not easy for any of you, and we just want to know we applaud you, we celebrate you. Okay, we're very proud of you. So thank you so much. I was looking to see if there was any questions in the audience for Joe before we wrap things up. Garden of
There's one.
Inspirations has a question here. She says, yes, I have a question. Your journey of losing over 350 pounds, going through a divorce, and facing moments of despair must have been incredibly challenging. Waiting, maybe she's typing. There's probably more, but I'm sure that throughout this whole journey, you have had times where you wanna, oh, I give up. Oh, I'm tired of this, but you
I
continue.
wanted to mention though, I think that the way, one of the things that I can share that has helped me, because it has been very challenging, but I think one of the ways that it what has helped me is making myself a schedule of sorts. Um, like, you mentioned that, you turn it on and I'm out there in the gym, but it's because I keep on a schedule of sorts. And so if I veer off that schedule that I set out for myself on a daily schedule, then I feel like, oh, I'm not accomplishing what I set out to do that day. And so it's just a matter of that consistency. and
Yeah.
staying consistent in what I do. So, I mean, and what I mean is like I wake up, I read, I do my devotion, I do my prayers, and I get up and I send, I try to inspire my children first thing every day. And then I go on, I take my son to school, I stop at the gym, and then I get to work. And if I don't do things in that order, I mean, I'm very the strategic, right?
Right.
If I don't do things in that order, then I feel like I didn't start my day correctly. So
Yeah.
it that's what I had to get to. I had to build to a place where, you know what, I have to do things in a certain order, kind of like my son. You'll catch him going, wait, mom, and he'll look for his keys, look for his wallet, look for his badge, and so he has to do those little things before he walks out the door, and then we go out the door, because if not, then he's gonna forget his badge for school, forget his laptop, so
Right.
you have to stay. And that's how I've tried to teach him: keep yourself a calendar, and this is the way you do. And that's how I try to teach him to do things, and that's
Yeah.
what's helped me. And that's why I go to the gym every
Yeah.
morning, because I stay on that, and if I don't, I really
Yeah.
I veer out of that schedule. So
Right.
that's what's
So
helped me.
organization and consistency, everybody. Organization and consistency. So Garden of Inspiration has put her question is, my question is, how did your faith in God help you to find strength and hope to rise above those ashes? And what advice would you give to someone feeling like giving up today?
Oh man.
Mm,
I just mentioned what I do every day. I
right.
mean, and it's the truth. I don't. I'm very. I very. I have to put God first in everything that I do, and before I put my feet on the ground, I have to give thanks, and I have to read, and I have to try to learn more. But I honestly have very often thought, I don't know how someone could make it without having faith in their life. That's because that is my foundation. That is I honestly don't understand. And I see it so much, right? Because it's very, very, I believe everything that I do, I spiritually guided. That's what I pray about. I pray that everything that I say be led by God for me to say for someone else's. I'm very much a servant. I'm very much someone who wants to do something for someone else. Yes, I'm trying to love myself enough to be able to help someone else. And that's very much, I believe that's why I was put here. And so that's what's helped me just and that's why I try to reel it in, to don't try to do so much too fast and too far ahead. Just deal with right now. Try to learn what you need to learn right now so you can make it the next day, so you can make it that next step, so you don't want to give up. Because that's the main thing, understanding your why. You have to get to a place where you have to figure out why do you want to keep going. And anytime you feel like giving up, and anytime you feel like not moving forward, go remember your why. Remember your why. Whatever it is, right? Remember your why and understand that someone else is watching you. Someone else is you're teaching someone else. Whatever you're doing, right or bad, right or wrong, it's teaching somebody else. So I don't want them to fail. And that's the main thing too. I don't want you to have to go through the things that I went through to learn. Right. I'm now in my 50s, and I want you to get it when you're in your 30s. I want you to get it when you're in your 20s. I don't want you to go through the things I had to go through to get here. Although I don't regret, right?
Mhm.
I don't regret, and I know that I truly believe I went through the things that I went through so my kids could learn from it.
Mhm.
My son, and I'll share this, my grown son that I raised, he has a blended family, and he is now seeing how his dad and I get along, and he can be in the same place and the same events as him and his children can be at, and we don't have to be bitter. And so he's now incorporating that into with his baby mama and his wife, and so it's teaching them to be a better blended family, co-parenting family, and I love it because that has literally helped him. It literally has. So whatever I do, I have to understand that it's not just about me. I'm trying to teach and guide and lead someone else.
Yeah.
That's what's helped me.
Yes, and you're doing that. You're doing that, Joe. Every time you put up a video or you put up a shorts, I was like, oh boy. Okay, let me get my sneakers. Okay, all right, Joe. I'm like, okay, okay. I'm going for a walk. Okay.
Oh, but I love your walks out there in Florida and by the water. It's great.
Yeah, but when you're, I don't know if you went through this, Joe, but sometimes when you're going through the situations and you just feel like this is just my experience. I don't feel like I'm doing anything big, or I'm just being myself. But when we are authentic, and I love what Lisa put in here, that you are so real and transparent, which you are, and when we're just ourselves, when we're real, we're honest, and we share things with others, we help other people to grow and to learn that even though we don't have the same situation, every single person can be courageous. Every single person can overcome. Every single person is you just one foot in front of the other, as my therapist always tells me, one foot in front of the other, one moment at a time. It's not about getting through the day, it's getting through that moment and overcoming here in your mind first and telling yourself, I can get past this. It's going to be okay. Let's move forward. Let's take a break and relax for a moment and regroup and reset and then move forward. So you're doing that, Joe, and I'm very proud of you. And I did pin in the comment section a link to Joe's channel if you want to find out about her channel. If you want to bless her Cash App, I have put all of that on her in the comment section. Let's see.
I wanted to ask if I answered her question. I did. Oh, and I also want to say hi to Miss Frugal Mama. She came in, but I wanted to know if I answered her question.
Okay, I'll wait for her answer, but she did say, with God's help, you did it. Keep going. At Thrive and Glow with Joe, Romans 8:28, and we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose.
Very much.
Yes, I love that.
Agree.
I love
I
that.
agree.
I love that. Yes, regroup and reset. So if there are no other questions, we're going to bring this to an end. She said yes. She said, yes, you did. Thanks for your advice. So it's been awesome. I thank you so much for coming on to the first Motivator Spotlight of 2025. Thank you, Joe. You're always welcome. You're always welcome to come back, because I know that there may be afterwards, when this ends, there may be some comments and that they may want you to answer. So I don't know. I may forward it to you, and maybe you can make that as your content. I don't know. It's whatever you feel comfortable to do. Sirius says,
Thank
uh,
you.
Joe, continue to thrive and remain positive on your life-changing experience. Yes, yes. This has been a
Thank you
blessing.
so much for having me. I really, I'm very humbled. And just like you mentioned, it's very much that way for me. I don't, like I mentioned, I don't see that what I'm doing, or in the past, I didn't see what I was doing was actually helping someone, or that it could help someone. But that's why, what I mentioned, sharing my testimony more helps me. And in essence, I'm sure it helps someone, right? Whether they can relate to the same thing, or they can relate to something of it, or just to inspire you. Because I've mentioned all the time, it's not about weight loss for me, or what I'm trying to convey. It's not so much about that. It's more about healing
Mhm.
and growing. That, for me, that's what it's about for me.
Yes, yes, I love that. Nancy says, Joe, it's so nice to meet you and hear your story. This has been truly inspiring. Yes,
Thank you so much. I'm glad.
yes,
I
it
really
has.
am.
So one more time, I'm going to share. At the top, you guys can see this is Joe's channel, Thrive and Glow with Joe. Please go over there, give her channel a look, watch a video, subscribe to the channel if you enjoy the content, which I'm sure that you will. So thank you, Joe, for coming. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
you.
I appreciate you. I really do.
Thank you, everybody, for coming today. And anybody watching in the replay, leave a comment in the comment section below. I'm sure Joe may come back and read some comments, or I may forward them to her Instagram. Thank you, guys.
Definitely.
Everybody, have a
Thank
great rest of your day.